Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. I'm Chatty and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where today I'm going to chat away madly about the Middlegrade Magic Readathon. This is a readathon happening in September. It is going from the 1st to the 11th, and it has prompts where you read middle grade books. It has been created and is hosted by Cara from the Wild Book Garden, Kier from Kier the Scrivener, Yvette from Book Cave, Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, Hana from two different platforms, Ballgowns and Books and Hermione, and Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. All of the links to their channels will be in the description box down below, and I will also put Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophes announcement video in, because that is how I came across this readathon. And as someone who loves middle grade, I obviously really want to get involved, and it gives me the perfect opportunity to talk about books that I love and what prompts they could possibly fulfill. So at the moment, I don't know what books I'm going to read for each prompt, so I thought I'd just talk you through some possibilities that maybe I could read or that I have loved and want you to hear about. I'm going to do my best to not babble on too much, because although as much as I try and embrace the waffle, I really want this to not take too long. I am surrounded by books, like you can't see it, but there's books literally in piles surrounding me. One of the reasons is because I don't edit on this channel because my laptop is very old and can't publish them anymore. But also it means I don't have to spend time editing if I do it all in one shot. So cheers, let's do this. We're currently on the first take, touch wood that it remains so. So I have my books in piles to kind of like keep me in line with what I'm trying to tell you all. So firstly, the prompts. You can have a book that fits lots and lots of different prompts, and the only prompts that you're required to read for this are the first two about the main character. So the whole readathon is set about like creating your own book, basically. I have my notebook because there's no way I'm going to remember all the information, so I will be looking down and flipping pages, so feel free to talk amongst yourself while I have my nose in this book. So we start off with the main character prompts. So the first one is read a book with a main character who's different from you. So for this one, I have to mention Onyeka Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun. This is a book by Tola Okogwu, and it came out this year. I'm in the middle of reading it and I am loving this book so much. So this will work for a character who's different to you. Personally for me, you know, Onyeka and I have come from very different backgrounds, come from very different cultures, have very different experience of life because of our skin colour. But also, if you think about it, she has superpowers. Obviously, that is going to be different for everyone because, well, maybe some of you do have superpowers, and in that case, congratulations. But yeah, she also has superpowers. She's got amazing hair, and she doesn't like to be the centre of attention. She is just kind of wants to keep her head down, not draw attention to herself. As someone who enjoys drama and likes to talk, it's kind of not me. I do not mind drawing attention to myself. So very different to myself. Another book is Goodnight Mr Tom by Michelle Magorian. So this is a story of Will. It is a historical fiction set during the World War, and he is evacuated to the country. And the more you read, you find he comes from quite a very troubled childhood home. So my Will is very different from me. One, we live in completely different time zones, different life experience, different family setting. I do not come from an abusive home, so he is someone who is different to me. The next question, which is the only other character prompt that you also need to fulfill, is read a book. Let me get the wording correct. Read a book with the main character who shares something with you. So for this one, controversially, I could also go for Goodnight Mr Tom, just to show you how fluid these prompts are and how you can really fit them to kind of whatever book you fancy reading. Although I'm different to him, we also have similarities in that he was quite protective over his younger sibling. And he also has a real enjoyment and love for theatre and drama. But another one I want to point out is Pages, the first book in the Pages and Co series, which is Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. I would say, although I don't know a huge amount about this book because I like to know as little as possible before I read books, she lives in a bookshop and loves books. So I think that is something that we can all relate to. Otherwise, why would you be watching a content about books? So yes, this one, very relatable. She likes books, I love books, winner. Haven't worked out a space of where to put books once I'm finished with them. I'll just kind of dump them over here. Okay, moving on to the next bit, which is not genre. What is it? Companion. So within our story, we have, sorry, I'm just going to adjust the camera slightly. There we go. And stretch out my leg. Right, companion. So first one, if you want your companion to be a friend to take with you on your lovely story, you need to read a book recommended by a friend. And for this one, I have a fantastic story that I'm so excited to get to and haven't read yet. A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. And this comes very highly recommended by Virginia Silverstone. If you look at her channel, I can't remember which particular month it is when she talks about this one, but she absolutely loves this series and highly recommends. So that works for this one. And I also have a book I don't particularly have at the moment, but my mum has just finished reading Asha and the Spirit Bird. I can't remember who wrote it, but that is one that she has highly recommended to me. So that could be another one that I pick up. So the next companion option is a sibling or a cousin. So for this one, you need to read a book with themes of family. So you could pretty much read any one of the books I've already spoken about here, plus Asha and the Spirit Bird, because all of these have got themes of family in them. Whether that's your typical family living kind of like in a home together, whether it's finding a new family for yourself, whether it's searching for family members, whether it's finding your bookish family, all of those would work. But focusing on books in particular, I have The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This is a fantasy story where there's like an adventure through the ice. Stella, the protagonist, wants to join the Polar Bears Explorers Club, but it's a very misogynistic club and they don't allow women in. But Stella has been adopted. Her dad is a member of the Polar Bears Explorers Club and he is so lovely and supportive, and their little unit, it's just her and her dad, and they are the most cutest, gorgeous family ever. So the themes of family are marvellous. There's also found family in here as she makes some really close friends on her journey. And also another family book. Again, it's not your typical family. Again, it's adoption. And we have Ballet Shoes. This is a classic. It's by Noel Stretfield, and yes, it is. And it tells the story of three sisters who are not related to each other. So there is a very, what's the word? When someone's a little bit peculiar, quirky, whimsical, eccentric, that's the one. So we have this eccentric explorer called Gum who lives with his great niece. He goes off, explores, comes back, brings her a souvenir. One day he brings back a baby. That is Pauline. The next year he brings Petrova, and the next year Posy. Obviously they don't have very strict kind of adoption laws at that point, but all these children eventually call themselves Fossil. They choose that to be their surname because he originally kind of collected fossils. So they're all P Fossil, and they decided to make a name for themselves. So although they are not biologically sisters, they have become sisters through this family, and they are also very close to the other members. So can't remember the name of the great, I think it could be Sylvie, the name of the great niece, and also her nanny, who's known to everyone as Nanny. So that is another family theme running throughout this one as well. The next one, I believe, is an animal companion. Yes, so this one you have lots of different options with. So you can read one with an animal in the title or on the cover. You could do a book chosen by your pet, or you could read a book that you think your pet would like. So I have gone with books that have animals on the cover and in the title. I have Wolf Brother by Michelle Paver, which is a fantastic historical fiction, magical realism book. The history in this is incredible. If you've been on my channel and seen other videos, you've probably heard me talk more about this series. And on here we have this wonderful cave painting, and here you can see a wolf called Wolf, and also Wolf is in the title. And we have Torek, who was raised by wolves for a little bit, lives in the forest with his dad. His dad dies, he goes to find to survive basically in this forest, comes across another tribe, but before that he comes across Wolf and they become pack brothers. And then we have again historical with a fantastical element, so again magical realism. We have Goth Girl and the Ghost of a Mouse by Chris Riddell. So this is a story of Ada Goth. There's an event happening at her manor. Think daughter of Lord Byron, think all the wonderful gothicness that you like. And she finds this ghost mouse and befriends him, befriends other children within the building. And there's something kind of a bit strange going on in the preparations. There's some magical creatures they come across, but they think all is not completely as well as it seems. The next companion option that you can choose is an enemy. So for this one, you have to read a book you are unsure of. I struggled a little bit to think of this one, because usually I'm quite sure of my books. I get excited by so many books, I want to pick them up and read them. So I found this one a bit strange, but actually there is a book. I don't have it here, it's under my bed, I need to earn it. If that confuses you, link to video explaining what I mean by that somewhere. And that is Keeper of the Lost City. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's quite a popular one. And that is because I have people where I have similar tastes in reading to who've absolutely loved this book. Pris from Pris Peruses and Sophia from Sophia's Thoughts, but also people who hate this book. Vidania from Vidania Silverscribe did not like it at all. Neither did Jade from JDA Reads or Gav from How to Train Your Gavin. So I do not know which side of the fence I will be on when I pick that one up, so I'm not sure of that one. Other things that you might not be sure of, it could be reading a book in a different genre to what you usually read. Sometimes classics can be intimidating, so always a nice opportunity to show off a children's classic. We have Alice in Wonderland. Of course, I'm going to show you this one, which can be a little bit zany, it's very zany actually, it's very bizarre. Classic fantasy, so that could be a bit off-putting because of the language and things. Also, we have things that could be slightly problematical, like The Secret Garden. Again, another children's classic, although has themes of nature and character development and growth from spoiled bratty child into more helpful child. But there is some racism in the beginning of the book because she grew up in India, and he treats the people from that country very badly. Also the way the other characters in here refer to them as well, there is some language that is problematical, so be aware of that when picking it up, and that could also be a reason for why you are unsure of this book. Okay, the next one is, I've lost my place, A Mentor. So this is when you're reading a book, it's very important to see stories reflect things that we deal with in our life. So read a book dealing with an important issue. And for that I have gone with the issue of identity, and we have the story Melissa by Alex Gino. And I would also like to recommend the story Rick by Alex Gino, because I think that one gives a much kind of broader perspective of the whole LGBTQ+ community. And it also deals with bullying in that, and prejudice and how we use our language. So I did also really enjoy Rick as well. Melissa was originally published as George, but it has been changed because of our growing understanding of what feels best for the trans community, so they can be reflected and respected as much as possible. So this tells the story of Melissa, and it is her working out how to be her true self and how to explain what that is when you are a child and you're trying to explain it to your parents and your friends, and how she goes on that journey. The only thing in here that is slightly problematical is, and it's ever so slightly, it's just because, you know, we have come on so much and we changed so much within a few years, and that is kind of how we see gender. It is very kind of gender stereotyped into female and male, but being as we're aware of that, we can just read it and appreciate the full message of Melissa enjoying her truth. Okay, so we have done companions now, so we're moving on to genre. So read a book in your favourite genre, which is a very nice easy prompt to do. My favourite genre, in case you weren't sure, is fantasy. So I am going to highlight a book I really, really want to read and still haven't got to, which is The Ship of Shadows by Maria Kuznia. Don't know a huge amount about this, but it has magical stuff going on. There's a ship, there's a girl who wants to be able to sail a ship, be a sailor, go out at sea, which everyone else in the port thinks is hilarious because girls don't do that. And then a ship comes in crewed by female pirates, and I would imagine she boards it and goes and has adventures with them. So yes, Ship of Shadows is definitely a fantasy I would love to read. I'm then just going to talk about sort of like just genres in general. So the two other ones for genre is reading a genre you don't read much of, and also reading a genre you'd like to read more from. So a genre, I kind of thought I didn't read much middle grade contemporary, but I have recently read quite a few middle grade contemporary. But an example of that would be Benjamin Dean's Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. This is a story of a boy whose parents are in the middle of splitting up. No, they've already split up, and he's kind of dealing with the aftermath of them just being kind of still wounded from it. The main reason they've split up is because his dad has realised something about himself, and again is living his true life, and his mum is struggling to kind of come to terms with that. He's getting caught in the middle, and he decides he wants to support his dad in his new self-expression, and realise that his dad is finding it hard for everyone to kind of adjust their kind of preconceptions of him, and decides that pride is the way to do that. So this was a really, really fun read. And then two books, one I've read, one I haven't. A historical fiction. This is Brother Dusty Feet by Rosemary Sutcliffe. It is set in Tudor England and deals with strolling players. And it is so adorable and delightful. And the historical detail in all of Rosemary Sutcliffe's work is amazing. Haven't read a lot of historical fiction recently. I used to read loads as a child. So that is a genre I would like to read more of. Another one I'd like to read more of in middle grade, I haven't read any, I think I've read one middle grade, that is sci-fi. So this book, Orion Lost by Alistair Chisholm, is so highly recommended by anyone I've heard talk about it. I absolutely cannot wait to read it. So just a few genre ideas there. So then let's move on to the setting of the book. And I'm just going to move some of these books so I can stretch my feet out. So first of all, a setting for your story could be home. And for this one, the prompt is read an author you love. And for this one, I am going to mention The Wizards of Once by Cressida Carroll. I really enjoy her How to Train Your Dragon series. I'm very keen to pick this one up and read it. I think her humour is fabulous. I think her world building is amazing, and she illustrates these herself, and they have fantastic drawings in them. The next setting could be a castle. So read a book that has dark, in castles there are dungeons, so you need to read a book that has dark elements to it, whether that's the tone or the cover. And for this one, I've gone for one of my absolute favourite series, and that is Frostheart by Jamie Littler. As you can see, there's a really dark purple cover on here, but also although it has a lovely warmth to it, there are hilarious characters in here. It's so magical and whimsical and light in that respect. There are some very dark tones in this as well. There is a huge prejudice towards people who are song weavers, and these are people that sing. So people don't sing in this world, because here we have a Leviathan. These are kind of like whale type monsters that live under the ice and will kind of like come out and like attack humans. But they sing songs, and people distrust song weavers because it's like they're communicating with them. So there's a huge amount of prejudice within that. There's also this kind of darkness of a feeling of kind of like revenge and betrayal and releasing your anger. And it's trying to control your anger and look beyond it. It's a very clear message kind of in this series, and what is the right way to be, to kind of move above this prejudice and work together and realise that maybe we've misjudged. Maybe this is not the way things always are, and maybe we can try and make a new and better place. So dark but amazing, mixed with light. We then have the setting of a school. So read a book. Getting the wording right. So learning is lifelong, and we should read a book that makes you curious or interested. And for this one, I have put in Root Magic by Eden Royce. This is a book I am so interested in reading and highly curious about. It's set in 1963. We have these two children. Racism is rife in their community, but we also have this fantastical element as well as they learn their family's magic system and power. That is all I know about it, but that is enough for me. So we have a mixture of like historical fiction and fantasy kind of magical realism going on in here, and I can't wait to read it. The next book it's one of my favourite things. So it's Forrest. They are quiet and lonely places. So you need to read a book that you have either not heard much about or that has many reviews. So this gets me the opportunity to hype up a book. Once We Were Witches by Sarah Driver. I have heard no one talking about this. It was published last year. The second book, Twice We Make Magic, is now out already. I've heard no one mention this. I've seen no one read it on the booktube channels. Maybe I'm just not getting out much and I'm not straying far from my little corner in the book community. But more people should read this. Two sisters, starts in an orphanage. Witches are like outlawed. They escape the orphanage. They go to one place that surprised me. We learn more about them and about themselves, and they start to kind of learn who they are. And then we go to a setting that completely blew my mind, wasn't expecting, and the story's just amazing. And I just really love it so much. Can't wait to reread this and read the second. You should read this book. Yeah, there we go. Getting very tall piles everywhere. Where are we going from now? Oh yes, so the next setting is the cool kid's house. So you need to read a book that has a lot of hype. Now this book I feel definitely needs more hype, and I haven't even read it yet. It just, the way people talk about it, the premise of this book, the good feelings I have make me so excited, but it should have even more hype than it has. Again, this is just hyped on my little corner that I inhabit in booktube of people I see, but in terms of like what's the word, like going into shops, like talking to people in general out in the real world that aren't in booktube, I don't hear so much. And that is Amari and the Night Brothers. The second book is due out any moment now, and I still need to read this one. Like I really need to read this one. So this is by B.B. Alston. It tells the story of Amari. There's something to do with her brother that she goes to find. There's a secret academy. It's likened to like fantasy meets Men in Black. Cannot wait. Then we have the setting of a community centre, and I am going to check this one. Yes, so read a book that has like community support or found family or people coming together. So many of these books have wonderful found families, but the one I am going to focus on is one that has this really big community support, and that is The Secret Sunshine Project by Benjamin Dean. I've already mentioned one of Benjamin Dean's contemporary books. This is his latest one that came out this year, and I loved this even more than Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. Two sisters, they have to move to a different place. They all really enjoyed Pride as a family. Her older sister is a lesbian. It was a really kind of happy time for them. And in this little village that they've moved into, they don't know pride at all. So our main character is determined to kind of put together some sort of pride for her sister, and it is adorable. Look at those edges. So yes, this is a really, really lovely book, and it has definitely got a community spirit of everyone pulling together. The next one is a book could be the setting for your book, and this is to read a cozy or comforting read. And I have two for this one. I was doing so well with just having one, but I had to sneak in two. I have to mention Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. It's so cozy and warming. It is just, it could be slightly traumatic. We have an orphan girl who goes to live on a farm with Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, but they were expecting a boy. But Anne has an enormous imagination, a beautiful heart, looking for kindred spirits everywhere, this fantastic imagination where she's constantly beautifying the world around her, but she also has a temper as well that often gets her into trouble. And it is very kind of slice of life, coming of age story, and so heartwarming. And a slightly more modern version, and again it's a fantasy, is Rainbow Grey by Laura Ellen Anderson. I love this book so much. I have to show you the map because it's just so cute. So we have all these different lands and these weatherlands. We have the Rising Bun Bakery, things like that I absolutely love. It's illustrated by Laura Ellen Anderson as well, and the illustrations are gorgeous. There's so much beautiful world building in this. It's really easy to read. It's at a slightly younger age range, but the story is so fun, the characters are so fun, and it just feels so cozy. So the final one is A Witch's Cottage. And the witch is actually a lovely person, thank you very much. So we have to read a book that breaks the rules of middle grade, which could also be like the stereotypes and people's kind of misconceptions about middle grade. So one of the ones I want to mention is that middle grade does deal with topics that maybe you wouldn't expect it to deal with. So more serious topics like mental health. This, I haven't read it, but I'm so excited. But this is a topic that occurs in Julia and the Shark by Kier and Millward Hargrave. And again, this is so beautiful. We have illustrations in here. She says, not finding any. There we go. With this kind of black and yellow. So I'm very, very excited to read this. Mental health is a issue that I'm very, very interested in. So I'm really looking forward to reading about it. Another one I meant to mention is how you can have LGBTQ plus characters done beautifully at a child level, and this is The Deepest Breath. This is a story about Stevie, who starts to realise that she likes girls and wonders if that's okay. And she wonders about everything. So her way her mind works is she loves encyclopedias, she wants to know all the facts, she's got a certain level of anxiety, she has a wonderful relationship with her mum, and it is just so wholesome and heartwarming as she starts to explore this side of herself, trying to find answers, and it's all written in verse. So this is a really beautiful one. Again, it's one that I've only heard one other person talking about, and I think definitely needs more love, so I highly recommend this book. Also, middle grade books, the perception is they wouldn't be as dark. The Shield Ring by Rosemary Sutcliffe. It's a historical fiction set as the Normans are settling in England. They've invaded, so the Saxons and Vikings are sort of becoming sort of more second-class citizens. And the Shield Ring is kind of like the last safe space for them. It's like a secret place that they don't know about, where they are trying to kind of keep their lands away from the Norman soldiers. So there are very high tense moments in this, and there is always this threat that they are kind of hiding from the Norman soldiers, and the historicalness is very vivid and very real in this, but it is still very much kind of a middle grade read. So there we go, The Shield Ring by Rosemary Sutcliffe. Finally, we move on to plot. So the first point in plot is an internal conflict. So for this one, you need to read a book you have been putting off. So I really want to read this book so much, and I think I've been putting it off because I'm waiting to really enjoy it. And I'm also waiting for my mum to be in a position to pick it up too. And that is Hollypocks, the first book in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. So currently these are all the books that are out. We have Nevermore, Wondersmith and Hollypocks. And we read these two together and then we never found time to read this one. And it's now so long ago that Mum needs to reread these two so she can read this one. But I really can't wait to read it. I really, really want to read it so much. These are fantasy. There is fantastic found family in these. There is like a very much kind of darker side in them. It deals with prejudice. So these can definitely fit in so many of the other prompts as well. But I've left it to this one to talk about them. The next one is the plot in external conflict, and this is to read a book with a beautiful cover. The Hatmakers I still need to read. We have a very beautiful cover here, and under the dust jacket we also have this, which is amazing. So this is by Tamsin Merchant, and it has lots of, again, it's magical realism. It's set in London, slightly historical based. It's kind of Victorian-esque. I think it is Victorian actually. I think they mentioned Queen Victoria. And each of these shops can put a magical element into the artifacts they make. So these people make magical hats. There is also kind of a family mystery, and I don't know any more than that and don't want to, but I'm really keen to pick this one up and read it. One that I have read is The Restless Girls by Jessie Burton. This is a fairy tale retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses with a feminist message to it, and the illustrations are beautiful. This is so gorgeous. So yes, definitely pick this one up and read it. And then we come to You're the Chosen One, and you can read any book you like. So I'm just putting one in that I haven't spoken about yet, which is Pure Dead Magic by Debbie Glory. This is a family that live in Scotland that have Italian heritage. Mama is a trainee witch that isn't very good at it. They get a new nanny who secretly is a witch who's very good at it. And there are kind of darker sides kind of lurking around. So it's kind of magical realism. It's kind of contemporary, or it's like urban fantasy. There's a mafia gang here. They have actual live beasts. There's like a griffin and a crocodile that can talk and will eat people. So it's really bizarre, but a lot of fun. The next plot point is you're not the chosen one. You're an elderly person that just does what needs to be done. So read a book. Phew, didn't cancel. Please stay. Read a book that you need to read for like another project, another readathon, to complete a series, whatever the reason is. So for this one, I'm going for Cogheart by Peter Bunzai. And this is because myself and Vidania Silverstone, yes, I've mentioned her a lot on this channel, are doing a cog-along. So we are doing a read-along of Cogheart. There's 4 books in the series. We're going to read one a month from September until December. So I definitely need to read this one. So this would fit perfectly into this prompt. Then the plot point is, whoop, you have magic powers. So read a book with a trope you love. So there are so many. So again, I've just kind of gone for ones where I've not mentioned the book yet. So The Chosen One, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, the first book in the Percy Jackson series. I don't think you need me to tell you what it is. Demigods in modern day New York, Greek gods, Greek myths, quests, adventures. So it would also fit for like quests, possibly kind of like Secret Air as well, but definitely Chosen One this would fit into. Reluctant Hero, which is kind of a bit of a, there was only one I could think of for that type of trope, and that is Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. I think the next two are actually YA rather than middle grade, but I think this one does make it. So this is about the story of Meggie and her father Mo, who love books, and there is a magical power that they have where they can read aloud, and Mo will make something from our world disappear into the book and something from the book come out into our world. but he never spoke again once he did that with people. So Maggie kind of becomes swept up in the kind of consequences of that event and becomes this sort of reluctant hero. It's very kind of realistic in that as much as you enjoy kind of being in your own story and things, to actually be in a real life story is quite frightening. So she's very much a reluctant hero in that respect. And it has so much book love in there, so it would also kind of fit in the cozy as well, but it also has like quite a dark, tense theme too, so it could fit in other things. And I can't remember, I'm holding a book here and I can't remember what I was going to put it under. Oh yeah, quest, journey. So yes, this is a book that has a quest and a journey. It's a historical fiction by Michael Morpurgo called Twist of Gold. It's set during the Irish famine with two children, and they try and make it over to America to start a new life for themselves, and they plan to meet up with their mum there as well, and their family. So their quest is to get there and to make a home. So the book is basically that journey and that quest. Okay, we're doing well, we're nearly at the end. The last plot point is, let me find it, self-acceptance. So read a book you think you'll love. Any of the ones I have not yet read would fit into this category, but I'm going to point out a book that I haven't spoken about yet, and that is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. I think you will love this. It is based on the folk legend of Baba Yaga with her house with chicken legs, who welcomes in the dead and leads them on to the afterlife. That is their calling. But her granddaughter, Marinka, wants to meet people. She wants to make a home. She doesn't want to wander around. She doesn't want this destiny. So it's her story. Lots of family themes in here. Lots of kind of consequences of your decisions. Lots of kind of self-learning. The characters are wonderful. There's found family. It's beautiful. You should definitely read it. I think you will love it. The final one is something weird is going on. So for this, you can read a mystery, or you can just totally randomise your TBR, your bookshelves, pull out a number, roll a dice to pick a book. So I'm just going to mention a few books that have a mystery in them. We have an obvious one that I don't own, which is the Adventures on Train series, where there is always a mystery for the characters to solve. Obviously, you've got many books about mysteries, but there's definitely a mystery in Goth Girl. There is definitely a mystery in, where is it? It's gone, and it's totally eluded me what I was talking about with that one. But yeah, there's always a kind of mysterious element. There's something they're trying to find out about. Second book in the Rainbow Grey series, there is a mystery in that one. The second book in Nevermore, Wondersmith, there is a mystery in that one. So there are so many things you can find a mystery in. These are all the books that I'm going to mention. I have so many more that I could talk about, and I could talk more about how all the ones I've mentioned would fit so many more of the prompts, but that would take forever. It has been so much fun to talk to you about my favourite middle grade books. I absolutely love middle grades. I cannot wait to be reading them more and be chatting around whenever. Please let me know if you are taking part in the Middlegrade Magic Readathon in September. And tell me about any of these books if you've loved them, if you've not heard of them, if you're excited about them. Tell me your favourite middle grade books. I always love a chat down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading, everyone.